Trust rarely ends in an argument. It ends in a sentence you've heard 100 times. These are the 7 phrases a coworker uses once she's quietly stopped trusting you. Not the loud ones, the polite ones, the ones that sound like teamwork and read like a verdict. Here's the first. I already looped in Sarah, just so we're on the same page. You heard it in a hallway or at the end of a meeting and you nodded because it sounds responsible. It sounds like alignment. But listen to what actually happened underneath it. A decision that used to include you just didn't. And she didn't check with you first. She checked above you. That's not communication. That's a reroute. By the end of this video, you'll hear all 7 phrases the way she means them. More importantly, you'll know exactly what to do about each one. Not vague advice about boundaries. Actual sentences, actual messages, actual dates. Because a trust break with a coworker is not the end of your reputation. Handled correctly, it's the moment you stop being managed by someone else's story. So let's decode the language first. Then I'll hand you the counter moves, one by one. Watch what happens the next time she says that first phrase out loud. She announces the alignment after the fact, in front of people. So objecting makes you look territorial. That's the design. Looping in the manager used to be something she ran past you. Now it's something she reports to you. The direction of information has quietly reversed, and in workplace trust, direction is everything. Here's what to watch for at this stage. Does she still ask your opinion before decisions or only inform you after them? That one difference tells you exactly which side of the door you're standing on now. The second phrase arrives in writing. Can you send me a quick recap of what we discussed? Sometimes it's innocent, but when trust has broken, this isn't a request for clarity. It's the beginning of a file. She is converting hallway conversations into documents, and she chose which conversations. Notice the asymmetry. She asked you to write things down, but rarely writes anything down herself. Your words become the record. Her words stay deniable. If your stomach tightened reading that, you're not paranoid, you're observant. A coworker who trusts you doesn't need your commitments in writing. One who doesn't is building a case, one recap at a time. Phrase 3 sounds like generosity. Don't worry about it. I'll just handle it. Maybe she says it when you offer to take something. Maybe she says it after you've already started. Either way, something that was yours is quietly becoming hers again. This is the politest emotion in the workplace. No meeting, no feedback, no incident. Just a slow repossession of the work. And here's the part most women miss. She isn't punishing you. She's protecting herself from you. That's worse because protection stays in place until the trust underneath it gets repaired. Number 4, let's take this offline. Sometimes that's sufficient. Sometimes it's an extraction. You raise something in a meeting, a concern, a correction, a question, and the temperature in the room changed. Let's take this offline means not in front of witnesses. It removes your point from the record of the room. Then the offline conversation never happens or happens so late the point has expired. What looked like meeting etiquette was actually audience management. Watch whether the follow-up ever comes. That answer is the whole diagnosis. Phrase 5 is the quietest one. Oh, I thought you knew. A deadline moved. A meeting happened. A decision got made without you. And when you finally find out, that's the sentence waiting at the door. Once, it's a mistake. Twice, it's a pattern. Information is the currency of office trust, and she has stopped paying you. Nobody repeatedly forgets to tell someone they trust. The oversight is doing its job, keeping you one step behind. Plausibly, number 6 comes of the smile. That's an interesting choice. Or it's cousins. That's one way to do it, or bold move. She never says it's wrong. She never has to. The doubt does the work for her, in front of whoever happens to be listening. What looked like neutrality was actually a seed about your judgment, planted in the room. And the next part is where most women lose their footing, because you can feel it and you can't prove it. And phrase 7. You might want to double check that before you send it. Said privately once, it's kindness. Said in a group thread or repeated weekly, it's a campaign. She is installing a story that your work needs her supervision to be safe. Each helpful flag is another brick in a wall being quietly built around your credibility. If this has been your week, you're not imagining the pattern. You're finally seeing it. So, 7 phrases, 7 signals, 1 conclusion. The trust account between you is overdrawn. Here's where most advice gets it exactly wrong. It tells you to protect yourself. Document everything and emotionally withdraw. That keeps you safe and keeps you stuck, because the woman who rebuilds the trust or strategically outgrows the need for it is the one who comes out ahead. So this is the countermove half of this video, and it's the half that actually matters. 6 moves. Exact sentences, exact timing, and 1 decision with a date attached. Let's start with the one you can use tonight. Move 1. Take over the recap, starting with the very next conversation you have with her. Remember phrase 2, where she asks you to put things in writing? You're going to beat her to it, permanently. Within 2 hours of any discussion with her, hallway, call, meeting, you send the summary first. Keep it short, neutral, and complete. Word it exactly like this. Quick recap of what we agreed. I'll have the draft to you by Thursday. You'll send me the updated numbers by Wednesday. Flag it if I missed anything. 3 sentences. Facts, owners, dates, and an open door. Do it every single time, whether she asked or not, and send it while the conversation is still warm. What this does is quietly reverse the paper trail. Her file only works if her version is the only version. The moment your recap lands first, in writing with dates attached, your account of reality becomes the record of reality. And notice the closing phrase, flag it if I missed anything. That invitation is what makes you look collaborative instead of defensive. If she never flags anything, your record stands. If she does, you have her correction in writing too. Either way, you win the archive. Here's the consequence. Within 2 weeks, she'll realize she can't reframe your agreements anymore, and the recap requests from her side usually stop. Move 2. The repair sentence, delivered once, privately, this week. Not a confrontation. Not a feelings conversation. A professional naming of the drift. Find a neutral moment, not right after a tense meeting, not over Slack, not on a Friday afternoon. Face to face if you can manage it. Coffee, a short walk, a quiet corner of the floor. Then say exactly this. I've noticed we're not checking in with each other the way we used to. That matters to me, and I'd like to fix it. Can we grab 15 minutes this week? Then stop talking. Do not list her phrases. Do not present evidence. Do not say you looped in Sarah without me. The moment you itemize, she defends, and defensiveness ends repair. What you're doing instead is handing her a choice. Meet you in the open or confirm the distance. Most women never say this sentence because it feels like weakness. It is the opposite. The person who names the drift is the person who controls what happens next. And if she deflects, everything's fine, just busy. Accept it gracefully and move straight to move 3. You haven't failed. You've taken her temperature, and now you know. The consequence, whichever way she answers, you stop guessing. The ambiguity, the thing that's actually been draining you, ends this week. Move 3. Make 1 visible. Deposit small, early, and announced. Trust doesn't rebuild through explanations, it rebuilds through witness proof. So pick 1 small commitment to her, something she genuinely needs, sized to be finished in days, not weeks. Deliver it early. Then say the quiet part out loud. I said I'd have this to you by Friday. Here it is, Wednesday. That's it. 1 sentence. No flourish, no speech. You're not doing this to be nice. You're doing it to be seen being reliable. Here's the psychology. Her distrust isn't a verdict on your character. It's a prediction about your behavior. Predictions only change when evidence contradicts them, where people can see it. So make your deposits in shared threads, in meetings, the exact places her doubt currently lives. 1 deposit won't do it. 3 might. 5 usually does. Space them a few days apart and keep each one small enough that you never miss. What changes for her? The story she tells about you gets more expensive to maintain because the evidence keeps arguing back. What changes for you? You stop auditioning for trust and start constructing it. Move 4. Ask the door-opening question. 1 time, then let silence do the work. This is for the moment the 2 of you finally sit down, whether from your repair sentence or because she initiates. When the small talk thins, ask, is there something specific that's made you hesitant with me? I'd rather hear it directly. Then, and this is the hard part, say nothing. Count slowly to 10 in your head if you have to. Silence is the pressure that honesty answers to. If she tells you something real, resist every instinct to defend yourself in that moment. Say, "Thank you for telling me. I'm going to think about that." That's a complete sentence and a complete response. You can dispute it later with a cooler head if it deserves disputing. If she insists there's nothing, believe the performance, not the words, and proceed to move 6 with clear eyes. The consequence? You become the one person in her work life willing to hear the uncomfortable thing, and that's a reputation money can't buy. Move 5. Start keeping your own record. Today, not after the next incident. This is different from the recap in Move 1. Recaps are shared. This is private. Open a simple document somewhere that belongs to you, and after anything significant, write 3 lines, what was agreed, what you delivered, and the date. Your own words, your own record of what you did. One plain caveat, because it matters. This is your record of your own work, not copies of company files or attorney documents. And your contract and local rules govern what you're allowed to hold. So keep it to what you personally wrote and did. Why bother if the repair might work? Because phrases 6 and 7, the interesting choice, the double check, are reputation moves, and reputation moves only lose to evidence. Memory is a terrible witness. It compresses. It doubts itself. It fades on the exact day you need it. A dated line you wrote in the moment never wavers. And here's the consequence nobody expects. Keeping the record calms you down. Once the facts live somewhere safe, you stop rehearsing arguments in the shower. You walk into meetings steadier because you're no longer the only place the truth is stored. Move 6, the 30-day decision. A real date on your real calendar. Repair gets one honest window, and then the window closes. Look at the day you delivered the repair sentence. Mark the date 30 days later. During those 30 days, run moves 1 through 5, fully recaps, deposits, the question, the record. Then, on that date, review the evidence like an analyst, not a friend. Are the phrases fading? Is information reaching you again? Is she checking with you before decisions? If yes, keep investing. Trust that survives a test often comes back stronger. If no, and this is the part the soft advice never tells you, you stop. You don't confront her again. You don't announce anything. You quietly reclassify the relationship. From that date forward, she gets professional distance, warm in meetings, precise in writing, and never again early access to your unfinished work. When she asks for a draft, the sentence is, "I'll send it to the whole group once it's final." Pleasant, unarguable, and final. Then widen your visibility so her version of you is no longer the loudest one in the building. The consequence? Trust becomes something you extend by decision, not something you bleed out waiting for. And the woman who decides is never the one being managed. So here's the picture in full. 7 phrases, each one a small withdrawal from an account you didn't know was overdrawn. And 6 moves that put the pen back in your hand. The recap, the repair, the deposit, the question, the record, the date. Notice what none of them required. Permission, a title, HR, or her apology. Just sentences you already know how to say, sent at moments you now know how to choose. Think about your own week for a second. Which of the 7 phrases have you heard most recently, and from whom? You probably knew the answer before you finished the question. Drop the number in the comments. Just the number, 1 through 7. You'll be surprised how many women are hearing the exact same sentence you are. If this one hit close to home, the video on the screen is the pattern that usually comes next. The coworker managing your reputation behind you, and how to take the story back. Subscribe and turn on notifications because the next file on this channel decodes what happens when that same coworker starts copying your boss, and you want that language before you need it, not after. You were never imagining it. You were reading a language nobody taught you. Now you're fluent. And fluency means you decide who still gets a seat at your table.